ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Brandon Groce, and I want to welcome you to Real Talk, brought to you by EditorX, the world's most powerful no-code web design platform for designers and creatives alike. Real Talk is a live show where we share with you exciting design, news, trends, career advice, and conversations with thought leaders in the space, entrepreneurs, agency owners, and more around no-code, UI, UX, product design, and the marketing spaces, and on top of that, so much more. If that sounds right up your alley, do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can come back each week to get your daily and weekly dose of information. And also, if you feel so inclined, don't forget to like this video. It helps tremendously. So with that said, let's jump into today's conversation. Howdy doody everybody, welcome to the first very ever Real Talk with me, your host Brandon Groce, with an amazing guest, Lilly Smith. She is a senior editor over at Shaping Design, the amazing EditorX blog. So before we introduce her to the audience, I just want to say hello to all of you guys. We have Maria, we have Fadila, we have Kim. Glad to see you guys in the chat. I see you, Victor, as well. I'm super excited with what we're going to talk about today, which is 2022's design trends. But I'm not going to say any more because I want to do this in tandem with Lilly because she is so well put together what exactly we're going through and talking about today. So with that said, let's join her. What's going on, Lilly? How you doing?
Hey, Brandon. Good. I'm so excited to be able to join this party this week.
I know, online party, super excited, and we have some very colorful things to go through today. Before we do that though, give us a little bit of background on who you are, what is it that you do, and what you're excited about today.
Yeah, so I am, as Brandon mentioned, the senior editor of Shaping Design. Now, if you're not familiar with Shaping Design, it's EditorX's blog. Definitely check it out. Really, our goal is to help professional designers like you stay ahead of the curve, really with content that inspires, informs, and provides you with the technical know-how to build amazing websites on EditorX. So that's what I'm doing on the day-to-day, and I'm glad to be spending an hour today with you.
Much obliged, and basically likewise. I can't wait to dive into this, but ladies and gentlemen, what we want you to do is basically, this is a two-way conversation. We're talking about 7 amazing topics, and you guys are free and welcome to chat along with us and give us your thoughts in the chat, and really just have a family conversation on all these things. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on into our screen. First thing that we want to do is we want to show off this beautiful design of this website first. This was all built in EditorX. Yes, Lilly had it right. For everybody in the chat, French kiss. We need to do it synchronistically. Yes, you beat me to it. That's usually what I do, but I'm glad to see we're on the same wavelength this afternoon. And also, guys, thank you for your patience. We had some technical difficulties for about 10 minutes. Thank you guys for holding out on us. So again, we're talking about the biggest design trends of 2022, but before we dive into them, let's just do a nice quick scroll through this beautifully designed web page, all done in EditorX. Like you guys can see, we're talking. Go ahead. No,
I was just going to say the design team did an incredible job of visualizing some of the trends that we're talking about. We released this report about 2 weeks ago, and they really captured what each of these trends are like aesthetically, using a lot of the tools and features that are newly available in EditorX. And I know we're going to get into that more, but it's a lot of fun, even just to scroll through from an experience standpoint.
Definitely. And I have to say, this word, like every time I go through this website, I'm like, is it Kitsch? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Kitsch. Yeah, there have been a few times where I've had to double check my spelling on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we obviously, like I said, this is a beautiful website. If you guys want to check out how this was made, please feel free to go to the link in the description. Actually, go to this website and you can I put the webinar link in the description on YouTube so you can sign up and actually view how this website was made. Another value point for you guys today. But, this is a beautiful site. And like I said, really well made. But with that, let's go back to the top and let's get started with our first trend. Hold on, actually, let's continue. Let's just feast our eyes. Okay, enough feasting. All right, we'll get through it basically as we go down. So the 7 trends that we are working on, or really talking about today, is we have the metaverse, we have digital fashion, web kitsch, 3D interactive elements, dopamine color palettes, which is the very first time I've actually heard dopamine in reference to colors, which I'm really excited to dive into, 3D lettering, and Zen Energy. Now, Lily, before we actually dive into this, like, what out of these are your favorite? Like, which ones are you like, yep, I can't wait till we get to that one? And
Ooh, great question. I mean, I am definitely into things that show off some personality and point of view. So for me, I would say web kitsch. I love dopamine color palettes. I love the 3D lettering. I really am into these aesthetics that are veering more toward the expressive rather than minimalist. I mean, that's just my own personal vibe. I'm big on color, and I just love seeing those aesthetics crop back into web design.
I love it. All right, well, I can't wait to get to those because I know you have some very meaningful insights on that. And my favorite one is the metaverse. You guys can see whether you watch my previous content or if you guys see my background, I'm very much into this. Me and Lily were talking before actually going live. She was like, Brandon, if you go into metaverse, make sure you have an Ethernet cable so you don't get lost, because somebody's gonna need to pull you out. And I was like, listen, if the metaverse is good enough, I'll cut the cord. So there's been some really exciting things and a lot of talk about this. This is, I think, on everybody's news channel, whatever you're watching on YouTube, actual mainstream media. If you're just in our space, you've heard about this stuff. And, Lily took the initiative to find some really amazing projects by Nike. I can't say that's a really big word, but Wendy's. Who is this, Lily?
So that is a completely online immersive museum. I think it's based in the Netherlands. Feel free to click through, guys, to see where that is exactly. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. I did click on this, and let me actually turn this off. It's going to blow up my internet. It's like a full-on almost video game. I think it took a lot of bandwidth, actually, last time I clicked into it. But Lily, I want to ask you, what are your initial thoughts on the metaverse? How do you feel about it? I know you were talking about the Ethernet, so I'm very curious to hear about your initial thoughts on this topic. And we'll start there. And also, everybody in the chat, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I'm curious to get just like a temp check of what people think and how they feel about the metaverse. But I am proceeding with caution, I think, on this topic overall. I mean, there's been on kind of a big level a ton of investment in the metaverse. It's projected to have in the hundreds of billions of dollars in investment by 2030. You kind of can't stay away from it right now. I have like a short list of companies here that are involved. Nike, Wendy's, you mentioned, also Gucci, Louis Vuitton, JP Morgan, Coke, Disney, Hyundai, Christie's. So really, across sectors, we're seeing brands and companies, carving out space for themselves here. And it's kind of, we don't exactly know what's going to happen yet. To me, it kind of feels like the early, age of the internet where things are really, just forming. Everyone was excited about it. Which direction is it going to go in? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Like, is it a bubble? So I'm interested in it, but I'm feeling like a little skeptical still. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, like the metaverse, I think, it's a huge conversation because it goes into art, it goes into technology, like the underlying technology of like crypto, the metaverse, just, smart contracts is absolutely, honestly, in my opinion, world changing. Do I know where things are going to move? I think it's still so early. Like, if we go back to our screen here, if we look at some of these projects like Nike Land, let's jump into here. So essentially Nike Land, from my understanding going through this, and obviously you probably have more information on this than I do, but just from first of all, I have been provoked into going to Roblox by some young cousins of mine, and it is very interesting. Roblox is in these creator economies that are in these you know, different worlds. I think the big thing that I want to, I guess, insert here, my one thing, is that the YouTuber influencer space, basically non-mainstream media that has been given to the hands of the individual in the last couple of years, that's now becoming a little bit more mainstream. Like, we are here on YouTube having our own sort of media show with other people watching and giving their take on this, where it's not like CNN or whomever. It's, we have that power, and there's certain people who have large media in who are individuals or even have a small team, and they are still running basically a media business, and brands are working with them to, you know, tap into their audiences. This same thing with these metaverse experiences. Like, I was watching a little bit of a documentary where this 18-year-old girl was running a business in Roblox where she was hiring developers at 18-year-old, and I say developers because there's actually, I believe Roblox gives a whole sort of interface for people to make their own games inside of the game. And so what she does is she creates, just like Nike has done here, creating experiences that people are actually interested in visiting, and she's able to capitalize on, you know, the user base that she has in her digital world. You know, she's made, you know, some sort of fashion item, or, you know, people have to pay to play a certain game, or people have downloaded a certain something that she and her team have built. And so to me, just like how the influencer, the independent media creators are now coming a little bit more mainstream, where people would be like, oh, you're a YouTuber? What is that? Get a job. You're a content creator? What? And so I see the metaverse as creators jumping in and doing very interesting things. For example, this is a little bit tied into, we'll actually talk about it when we get into digital fashion, because I think the two are mixed. But, you know, what are your thoughts on from that angle?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think a lot of brands are trying to do exactly what that, you know, 19-year-old is doing right now. They're trying to find ways to make these experiences a bit more sticky and get users to come back more than just for like a one-off launch event or that type of thing. You know, with this Nike example in particular, Nike Land has things like virtual try-ons, which overlaps with digital fashion. I know we're going to talk about in a second. They had like basketball training camp with LeBron James, and his avatar was in the metaverse as a way to bring users in. So I think that is something, you know, that could be an example of something that works. It worked for Nike. They're planning on investing more in that space. And I would say, kind of from a web design perspective, you know, what does this mean for web designers? If you're working for a big brand like Nike, let's say, or you are working with an agency that works with major companies, this is something that, you know, this is a project that you could have a hand in and could be working on. You know, we hosted a panel on Tuesday, and one of our panelists, Talia Cotton, she's a designer at Pentagram, mentioned that she was working on a project related to the metaverse right now. So even if it's not something, you know, that you seek out necessarily, it could be something that comes your way. And so I'm interested to see kind of what that overlap looks like with web design and AR, VR, 3D design that metaverse requires.
For sure. And I think, you know, we'll leave that there, because we do have 6 more to go through. And I could talk about this all day. So I'm holding us up. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I think we both, me and Lily, agree that it's still really early. There are still large brands and individual creators are trying to figure out what's going on here, trying to tinker. And I think it's such a great time, while it's literally the Wild West, to get out there, see what's going on, what can actually be built, because there's literally pioneers today in the metaverse, just like there was pioneers on YouTube like PewDiePie and Jenna Marbles. I don't know if that makes me old by saying that now, but they were hot during my time, okay? Leave me alone.
Brandon, I love that. The metaverse is the Wild West of web right now.
It really is. And, you know, it's just super exciting and refreshing. So up next, we still have slightly I would consider this metaverse, but I would love to hear your angle on the digital fashion side of things, because I feel like you're probably more educated on this, because when I first saw this, I was like, great, we have external grills. She's giving me ice cream feel up top, and something's going on. But what are your thoughts initially? And by the way, guys, I apologize if there is a lag. in the chat because I'm seeing that now. I think this video is a little too strong for my internet connection. Let's see what happens if we scroll off of it. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it was. That was our technical issue. There's a lot of bandwidth being taken up by that video.
There we go. Yeah, it looks good on my end. Yeah. So digital fashion, I personally love it. I mean, you may remember, some of you, like the Y2K era, early 2000s. There were like these digital fashion dolls. I feel like that was like the OG, like the original. Like it's been around in some form for decades. I would love to like steal the closet from Clueless. She like scrolls through the screen to like decide what she's going to wear that day.
Yeah.
But in 2022, it really is kind of a whole new world. I mean, it just isn't really something that we've seen before. And it is because it overlaps a lot with Metaverse. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, obviously it's been around for a long time, but I think now we're really starting to see a boom in virtual clothing because of Metaverse and AR, VR tech. So, you have to dress your avatar in something. It might as well be pretty cool if you can. Another part of that, I think, from kind of the artist designer side of things, is that you're able to create kind of surrealist pieces that you might not be able to make IRL. Like one of the examples we have in the report is designed by this creator. I think his studio is called Tomo Lab, but he made a puffer jacket that looks like it's filled with water, and there's like a goldfish swimming around in there. And so
yeah, right here.
Obviously, I don't know how well that would do walking down the street of New York where I am, just on kind of like a practical level, but it sure is cool. And I think that way digital fashion is really opening up the creative opportunity for 3D artists, that type of thing, to really go all out and really kind of push the limits of creativity there. And then I would also add, for the first time, we're seeing big fashion houses get in on digital clothing too. I don't think we've really seen that before. This year we've had the first fashion week in the Metaverse. Brands like Tommy Hilfiger got involved, Balenciaga got involved. So I don't think that it's really going away anytime soon. And I think actually what's big about 2022 is that it's getting bigger than ever. So that's another way digital designers can get involved too.
Yeah, digital designers, and I have an online acquaintance. His name is Don Allen Stevenson III, and he's been doing some really crazy things in the Metaverse and with digital clothing and just basically AR and VR avatars. For example, let's go and see. We'll do this as the quickest piece here. But he creates, I'm not sure how much you guys can actually see this, but what you're looking at here, that monkey, is actually a live capture of what he's building Snapchat filters. So just like filters for like Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, if you actually point it at somebody, it makes their entire body disappear and it just shows the monkey.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I think he just got brought onto a show with Kiki Palmer, I believe, and I think it's actually a show produced by Meta. And there's one that I really I had it booked for today. There was 2 pieces. Let me see if I can find the other one. He had a little Nas. Man, I wish I had it prepared, but then I had to reset my computer, guys. Bear with me, but it's worth the wait. Here we go. Yes.
Let's see.
So it's like still, again, early tech, but this is something that I said in a newsletter yesterday. I was like, we thought we were in it when people weren't wearing pants during Zoom. Imagine when this starts happening. People are not going to be wearing clothes at all. And there's just some really cool things. Like this is part of the Metaverse / sort of fashion that he took it his way. There's many other things and many other ways that it can be spun. So really, I think at this level, it's just, it's up to the people who are seeing what they could potentially do, the creatives who can, create some cool things. Sometimes maybe you just want to hit some SpongeBob shoes and drop them on a model. Who knows? But it's still, regardless, if you're early, just like Donnie was, or Don, he's being pulled up by people who are large brands, literally Meta, who are seeing creatives who are pushing the boundaries and being like, hey, we want that. We love what you're doing. And like, they just take him just from the concepts he's putting out online. So
yeah. No, I would wear those SpongeBob shoes 100%. No question.
I would rock them. I look at my sponges on the sink from time to time. I'm like, that could be the next evolution of Crocs. You never know. We could be pioneers, Lily. Pioneers.
There's a question in the chat I'm curious to get your take on. It's asking if the 3D modeling industry, if it'll grow due to the trend. I kind of feel like yes, or at least the interest in 3D modeling skills. I mean, you're starting to see, even if you look at just like Meta, Roblox, Niantic, which is another company getting into the mix as far as like gaming and AR, you're starting to see those kind of skill sets be more and more sought after. But I don't know from your end, Brandon, what do you think there?
That was my fault. I was also reading the chat and was answering one of those questions just in text. They wanted links, but let's reiterate. What was the question? I apologize.
No, all good. 3D modeling, do you think that the need for that skill set will increase due to digital fashion?
Yeah, I think with 3D modeling, it is, I've seen like a skyrocket. We've all seen. There was even a question from a couple people in our community this morning, like, hey, how do I get 3D into my EditorX site? And like, regardless of its Metaverse stuff, if it's digital fashion, whether it is really anything, like, it is becoming easier and easier for people to get into 3D, which I think will mean there will be more people productively working in that industry because it will not require a high technical ceiling. Whereas just like as graphic design became a little bit more less of a barrier to entry, more people joined in. As web design became more democratized, more people jumped in. Web design or 3D and all that stuff is so, for a point, was so difficult. But now to where a team of one can produce an entire game literally in weeks. So, the technology for helping creators build more quality things in a faster period of time is, that is going to bring a whole bunch of new people because of the barrier to entry being lowered into the industry. So my long-winded answer into a short summary is yes. I think it's going to bring a whole new, so many more people into that industry, and they'll create new sectors of it. So produce new things. Like I'm not, just on my own, I purchased like a $3,500 suit. Hired somebody to create a 3D avatar of me that maybe cost altogether the project was like $10,000, whatever. But still, that is very rudimentary for me to get a avatar that is beautifully done, rigged to me, where all I have to do is put a suit on, and it mimics me and my mouth almost perfectly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! Yeah, you'll have to share that I'm so curious to see it at some point.
Well, if you guys, anybody in the chat is interested, literally all you have to go is in the videos. But Lily, I will definitely send you what that looks like. But I find it really cool, and technically I don't have to wear clothes, just a suit for that one. All right, up next, let's keep the train going. But do you have any like summarizing thoughts for maybe the people in the chat or for digital fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most immediate people and users it'll affect are those that are related to or working in fashion, that work in, say, like the arts, maybe gamers as well. I think that they'd probably be kind of like the first adopters, as well as with Metaverse related tech. Yeah. Will it hit the general public in the immediate future? Probably not, unless you're kind of like super online or something like that. But interested to see where it goes. Early stages. Let's see what happens.
Agreed. Still early. There will be pioneers. Let's see where it takes. And with a quick thought, I actually thought, I was like, if I open up another video, my internet is going to scream. But if you actually, I have my 3D avatar on my website. You can barely see it, but it's in the background there. And in doing it all live. But yeah, if you guys want to see it, just check out the YouTube channel. I'll send links after the live stream. Or if you join our Discord, you guys will be able to see it there. Links for that are also in the description. But let's move on to the word I like the most, web kitsch. Kitsch, yes. All right, so let's start us off, Lily. What is this? Because I know you've read the definition of this a couple times, you've looked it up, and you've also wrote this. So run us through, what is web kitsch? What do you like about it? Where have you seen it? And how do you feel about it? I feel, to me, this is like you have here Y2K nostalgia. This is like old school, bringing it back. But give us the real history.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it, really. I mean, web kitsch is really referring to the nostalgia of the early web and the aesthetics of the early web around like the late 90s, early 2000s. At that time, the web was a little bit less templatized. We didn't have the same tech that we have now to make things that are super slick and streamlined. So that's really where it's coming from. It's aesthetics that we have today that are intentionally lo-fi looking. So default fonts, patterned backgrounds, old school windows, simple layouts, even like decorative sticker icons you'll see on certain websites like butterflies or smiley faces, those types of things. Essentially, if it looks like maybe you're using, say, like the paint tool and like Windows, 98 or something as like your color palette, that's really kind of like what the look is, more or less. So and this is part of a bigger trend toward Y2K nostalgia. I mean, this started in fashion first. Look out for those low-rise jeans, those tiny glasses. But web design and a lot of different design fields, like fashion, really do kind of go together. They correlate, and fashion cycles, design cycles typically come back every 20 years or so. So it makes sense that we're starting to see this now. And I'm particularly seeing this as far as like sites that cater to Gen Z, which is kind of interesting. There are a few portfolio sites there that capture it really well. Ryan Haskins is one of my favorites. So you can see kind of what he's going for there. It's kind of like intentionally unslick, and I love it. I think it just is so kind of refreshing to what has typically been considered quote unquote good design, which is also kind of a broader conversation people are having right now. What does good design actually mean? Who decides? So I love that we're breaking away from these default ideas of what good design is. I think it's also kind of a reaction to, a decade and a half of what's been more or less kind of like, I think some people call like humanist minimalism, which like a lot of tech startups in like the early 2000s were adopting kind of like a blank slate of a look. And so I'm just excited to see some real personality injected back into the web here. I love that they're taking risks.
I agree with that. It's kind of like bringing art back into what has been kind of sterilized. So I agree with that. And I feel like, all the designers are like, all I want to do is make an Apple website. And in my dream, or at least it might not be everybody, but, the talks around the people that I've been talking to. But I love to also see some, bringing back some flavor and really just things that make you stand out compared to some of the other websites that are that kind of look a little bit more templatized, like you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, for so long, I feel like web designers and design generally have been following the mantra less is more, but now designers are starting to say, says who, and really question that. And I think that's great. I hope we see more of this. I hope this trend never dies.
This is really cool. Like having
that one's
these,
awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's bringing creativity back into design, which I definitely think where, because we're so stuck on the conversion and just like business, right? Mm-hmm. But when we get into like actually, people creating their projects and figuring out how to do the business, but create with a fun twang to it. I think that's really important for us to get back to.
Yeah, and like, I mean, you're still pretty easily able to find kind of the things you need to do on these sites, but it is just more punchy. Like, I don't know, it doesn't so attached to like the idea of like the minimal amount of design or that you have to put into kind of like direct people on their user journey, that type of thing. I like that it's, I don't know, has a little bit more of flavor and an individual personality to it as the user finds the way to, the things they're trying to get to.
Agreed. And we have a couple people in the chat. Kimberly says, reminds me of VizCom days. I wonder what that is. I feel like that's almost like my Jenna Marbles comment earlier. Kimberly, you have to let us know what that means. You got to give us context. Also in the chat, we had Maria said, I think I had that phone. I feel like I had that phone too. I was very quick at texting under my desk with my thumbs. We had to train for that, Lily. Was that, I mean, you don't have to expose yourself publicly. I've just, in high school, I was very quick with my black flip phone under the desk. Somehow texting, that's almost like impossible. I have no idea how I did that. Like 3 letters and numbers on a key, like that's some telepathy level
I know, it really is, right? Yeah. No, I had a flip phone too. I remember you have to like type 3 times, like at the C, 3 more times, like another 4 times to get like a D. You really had to like someone to text them back then.
Very true. Well, I only had a limited number of texts like per week or something. I forget. I think I had 15. And then my parents would be like, why'd you send that 16th text? Where's your money? Anyway, let's not go through my family drama today. I have a therapist for that. Kimberly says visual communications. Wow. I totally should have just known that. I'm totally not a designer, guys. I apologize. All right. Moving on.
One last note on the web pitch that I think is interesting, is it really is kind of a counterpoint aesthetic-wise to things we're seeing in the metaverse right now, which is so kind of like slick and just like pushing the limits of what things look like. It adds kind of a futuristic look to it. This is just kind of like a counterpoint in the opposite direction. So it's interesting to see these two things at play, in the industry at the same time.
Agreed. And like so far, we've gone through 3 things so far. I have to pick up the pace, but so far I think all of these are very exciting to really just 1, be aware of, 2, see how we can potentially use them in our work as creatives, and just like open our minds a little bit in terms of, I personally know I've been stuck in day in, day out and doing a certain type of work, but being able to see, what other people are doing, I'm like, oh, I forgot that I could do that. I get to be a little bit more of a kid again. All right. Yeah. Also, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm seeing this question in the comments. Should people who have a sterile UX design portfolio switch it up then? I would say not necessarily. I mean, more than anything, you still want to think about who your clients are and whether or not trends, fit with your client needs overall. I mean, if your personal aesthetic is still like minimalist, there's of course a place for that, definitely. I think that's never going to go away. That's kind of like a gold standard in some ways, but it just is kind of like finding ways to inject maybe some other aesthetics as it maybe fits with your client. So you probably wouldn't use Y2K nostalgia for, say, a bank website or something, unless you were catering to a younger subset they're looking to target, but maybe you would for like a DTC beauty brand.
That's beautiful. You close that one up, but you reconnected, or what is it? You closed the loop. There you go. Yeah, I haven't had enough green tea today, guys. I was rushing, and I was telling Lily, I felt like I was running a marathon standing still this morning. But just another call out. If you guys want to see how this beautiful site was made, do make sure you go to the link in the description. You go to this page. 1, to check it out, but 2, we also have a link in there for you guys to check out how this page was made in an upcoming webinar. All right, let's dive into 3D interactive elements. This is huge. Lily, I know I keep asking you to open us up. Do you want to tackle this, or do you want me to open up? Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to be quicker now. Keep me on track here. 3D interactive elements to me really speaks to the ways that our IRL physical world is overlapping more and more with the virtual. I think we started to see more of this over the past couple of years due to the pandemic, especially in the e-commerce space. These kinds of features are really great for showcasing products that maybe you want to sell to a user. You want them to put it in their cart, but they might not go and see it in person. To me, it's a great way to show off different features of maybe a physical product. But also, they have some examples in here too of other use cases. It's a logo for a studio in there. I think we also have like a couple other kind of illustrations. But I know you've talked about this before, Brandon, but when used sparingly and smartly, it's really a great way to help you compete for user attention when everyone's spending so much time online.
Definitely. And, if you guys are interested, we're going to try to, because we're coming up on almost like 13 minutes left. But I highly recommend, first off, I totally agree with you. I'm not going to restate anything. If you guys are interested on really platforms that are really spearheading this, Spline.design. And we have actually done a tutorial on how to implement basically platforms like Spline where you can upload 3D assets and literally embed them into any site that you have. It's literally just a copy and paste. We have a tutorial of how we've done that in Editor X as well. You guys can explore this tutorial that is in this nice band here. Just click it and it will take you to a tutorial that we have on YouTube. So again, I think this stuff is really powerful, especially going back with the Metaverse and the digital fashion. And then we're talking 3D. Like we can see, we're talking about it in 3 different places out of the 7 things or topics that we're talking about today. Guys, highly recommend, keep your eyes on this stuff so that you can either one, be a pioneer, or just, this is where the future is going. Like even I am having to be like, I gotta figure it out. So yes to 3D interactive elements for web design. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move to colors. Dopamine color palettes. Okay. Let's go through these beautiful interactions really quick. Because, why not?
Yeah, that's great, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, I want to touch it. There's dots. But so, and I'm only asking you because you named it dopamine for a reason. So why is it dopamine? I know we're talking like 70s era, psychedelia. What about these colors that you're seeing in the industry make them psychedelia? Like, how are people using them? Give us your thoughts.
So it's kind of a mix. The psychedelia component, I'd say, is really a sub-factor in color use here, but splashy color was really big in the 70s, like late 60s era. I think about if you look up like concert posters of like around the San Francisco area at that time, they're like super trippy, super colorful. And we're seeing that same kind of vibe pop up on the web now. The dopamine, where it actually comes again, we're seeing a correlation with fashion. For the past year, there's been a trend of what's been called quote unquote dopamine dressing, which is really just like dressing in feel good colors, bright saturated colors and color combinations that just like make you happy to see them. I think personally, it's great. The world's like dire enough. Let's see more of these super saturated vivid colors. That's what's going to get me to click and have fun with the site.
I agree. Now, sad point here is sadly as a designer, even though I can dress a website, I sadly can only dress myself in black.
That's pretty
maybe I just use
for designers though.
Maybe we just use all of our brain power to get the colors out somewhere else, and then we're just like, you know what? All we have the energy for is black. But yeah, I think the use of colors, especially in these examples that we have, they definitely bring a huge amount of energy to the websites that they're being used on. And we also see a little bit of that web kitsch sort of feel, very much like brutalistic sort of design in those. So, all right. So dopamine colors, ladies and gentlemen, try to use more colors. Practice. Don't be like Brandon. Try some colors. Be Lily today.
Yeah.
Wear red.
I'd also just add, we have a couple of great examples there, of studios that are using it for their own branding, but we're also seeing it really kind of across industries too. I mean, if you look at like Seth Rogen's Oh my God, I'm losing it, Brandon. But he launched a weed accessories brand called Houseplant, which has super vivid colors. Nike Play Lab. There's a children's museum that adopted this, kind of like super punchy color scheme. We're also seeing it a lot in like food and beverage, if anyone has clients in that space too,
Yeah,
and DTC brands. So really across the map, it's interesting to see. Love to see it.
for sure. So, guys, again, take it from Lily. Don't be Brandon on this one. She knows her colors. She understands. She just gave you what you guys need to follow. All right. And plus, I'm also with her. She says she was losing it, but I'm looking at my water over here to the right, and I'm like, my tongue is. Can it survive 8 more minutes? Okay, let's move to 3D lettering. By the way, Aaron in the chat says "Be Lily," classic. So we have some agreements in here. All right, moving on to 3D lettering. I will start us off with this one, just to give you a little bit of breathing room, Lily, because you're starting and stopping us for every topic. But I have to say again, this is 3D for the 4th topic of the trends that we're discussing here. And one, these are beautiful, but like, and guys, this is not the website, this is my bandwidth, because I'm having like 5 different to 6 different things that are taking up my bandwidth on my computer. So anything else, like one little thing, will make my internet blow up. This website is beautiful, there's nothing wrong with it. So like, again, I think this is just a showcase of creativity being added back into something that maybe people have oversimplified. Like, people are like, oh, the Helvetica, keep things clean. But here we have type hype. It's fuzzy. It reminds me of my cat. We just got to get some red food coloring, and there we go. I just think 3D and just adding more creativity, less sterilization is kind of what we're looking at in 2022 as we come to a little bit more of a close on the topics of 2022. And I'm just kind of summarizing what I'm seeing here and the overall trend that I'm seeing for the year so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I am a more is more type of gal, so I'm all for this. I mean, purists will say, type is a functional tool and form should follow function. I'm really interested to see how web designers push them into tangible, hefty parts of a brand identity or a site's aesthetic, or even, functional features. So I am all for 3D type treatments as a way to bring dimension and visual interest to lettering and into a site. I think it's great. Curious
Definitely.
to see how it evolves more.
Like, this is sick what we're looking at right here. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, so I mean, not only does it, show off the animation studio's name, but each of these letters are voicey in their own way and speak to the brand's personality that I don't think you could had they just left it in, like white, I don't know, Helvetica or, something similar.
For sure. I'm going to close this really quick. I'm going to take a look at our live chat for a second. Andre is asking, or Andre, sorry, my friend. For non-3D designers, apart from Spline, how do we produce 3D text? I highly recommend, I think all of Adobe software is like super. Actually, Spline, yes, you can do some 3D stuff in there, and I think it's actually really easy. But if you're looking for easy 3D platforms, I highly recommend you take a look at the 3D Studio that Adobe is now offering, because I have spun together like projects. I've maybe had a week's worth of maybe 5 YouTube videos in trying to understand 3D, and I was able to create like full models in Adobe software. But also, if you have an Oculus, guys, I tell you, like, do not sleep on this. Go into the metaverse at least once in your life and try out a application called Gravity Sketch. You'll be amazed at how similar the sculpting experience is if you were to do it with your hands, but you can actually make some really cool stuff. So again, if you guys join our Discord, I will share all these links because we're running out of time. We got about 4 minutes. So if you guys want some extra Q&A, join our Discord, links down in the description, and we will be in the chat answering those things for you. So Adobe and Gravity Sketch, my friend. Okay, let's go back, Lily. We're gonna have to speed racer on this. I saw your water. Let's get ready to run.
I'm
I
ready.
think Zen is our last one, correct? Yes. All right, we're going to do good time. All right. And I will hand this off to you because that's the only time that we got. And then we got to close.
Okay. It feels sacrilege to zip through Zen Energy, but I'm going to try to be as chill and speedy at the same time as I can be. So this is another one that I think is really kind of exciting to see. For at least the past few years, I feel like, the internet has been associated with just like doom scrolling bad news. And so to me, it makes complete sense that, this type of thing is popping up, and that there's brand appeal and being a soft spot for users to land. So what does Zen Energy mean exactly? How are we seeing this as far as visual aesthetics? So we're seeing this with soft gradients like that one there, that are kind of amorphous and use pastel colors or secondary color choices. We're seeing it with calming elements like biophilia. That's like your natural elements like trees, leafy greens, those types of things, muted color palettes, gradients, which I mentioned, that to me are a totally clickable contrast to much of the internet we're seeing right now, especially depending on the sector that your client works in and the mood you're trying to create for a brand or product. To me, there's a lot of appeal in kind of being like a little internet oasis for users you're trying to grab online.
I think so too. And I do want to click into these, but some of them have audio. And I did not see the audio button to make sure to turn it off because it will compete with you.
I can also just talk about them, let me know. But this is a furniture brand. So to me, this makes complete sense. You want your home to like be an oasis. You want users to associate it with like calm and relaxation. And I think that this does that beautifully. It's also super 3D, which is cool. It touches on a little bit of our other trends, but even like that soft sunset behind there, like I just want to like go and like wade in it. So, we're seeing that in lots of different sectors too. We're seeing it in DTC. We're of course seeing it in the mental health space, interior design like this. And yeah, I hope we see more of it. I love the web being a place to kind of like chill out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, where can I teleport like immediately within the next 10 minutes to whatever lighting is happening here, I need this in my house for like a very particular room, kind of like my Darth Vader sort of
yeah,
room.
And I just add like even this year, Pantone comes out with its color of the year every year. This year it was Very Perry, which is like a soft pastel purple. We wrote about it earlier this year on the blog and called it palliative purple. So again, it just is like a soft place to rest your eyes, and I think there's a lot of appeal for users there right now.
Yeah, so in that website, that was actually really lit. So guys, again, please check this out. Yes, we've gone through all of the trends that we've, that are on the site, but please go and check them out and actually click through them and get a feel of, what's going on there. And again, if you guys want to actually start shaping the future of web design, do please check out EditorX because one, this site was built on it. Two, it is very easy to learn how to build these things. It's not complicated, even though it looks as if it is. So with that said, and that's the beauty, it's kind of what we talked about. The things that used to be hard are now becoming easy, and platforms like EditorX are really steering the way for people to jump in because they've lowered the barrier to entry. So Lily, we are at 2:00. We have made it. Is there any final things that you would like to share with first of all, let me ask, how are you on time? Because I know you are a busy miss.
I'm great. No, I'm good for time. Yeah.
All right, so we can do like 5-10 minutes of Q&A and you're fine?
Sure, yeah.
All right, I was looking for that sweat running down your forehead really quick. I was like, I got to make sure we're good. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, while we wrap up, if you have any final questions, I know there is a lot of conversation going on, but please drop any of your comments, questions, etc., or even thoughts you might want to have us conversate for the last 5-10-ish minutes here. But yeah, Lily, is there any final thoughts that you have overall on the trend report?
I would just say that overall, I think that we're seeing a lot of change when it comes to web design, and I think we're going to continue to. This really seems to be a moment of flux. Aesthetics are shifting. There's a pendulum swing that's happening. I think we're in the midst of it right now. And that's why we're seeing, like counterpoint aesthetics like the Metaverse and Web Kitsch and Zen Energy versus kind of like the typical, like multi-ping, kind of interactions we have online. I think that those kind of contrasts will continue to pop up over the next few years. And this is really just the beginning of what we're seeing right now.
100%. So overall, ladies and gentlemen, riding the coattails of what Lily just said, a lot of these things, one, try to incorporate into your work a little bit. Try to be a little bit more creative, but also keep your eye on the very early spots in the market, because that's, if you can get in and start making things and you get eyeballs on where everybody is seeing these things, hearing about these things, but they don't really know how to make what they want to in these spaces yet. It's literally like we've been talking about the Wild West. So if you can be a pioneer in something like Don, what I've seen him move through just because he is basically making concepts in his room daily, live streaming those things, and a couple other people who I know in that space. They're being asked by Snapchat, Facebook, literally just brands who are trying to Meta. Sorry, I'm old. Okay, guys. Brands who are trying to be in those spaces are looking for innovators, and it's a really good time to be a creative. Starving artists should not be a thing that you attach yourselves to, whether you are a little bit more traditional or more digital, because it is crazy what technology is allowing us to do, allowing us to build as individuals. And really just to create. So I hope you guys enjoyed the 2022 trend. Thank you so much, Lily, for being our guest and to writing this amazing article. If you guys want to, actually, Lily, where can people find you on the internet if they want to get in contact with you? I know we have your Twitter below you, but is there any other place we can find you?
Yeah, Twitter is probably the best place. Feel free to reach out to me there, tweet me. You can also email me. I have a website, lillyrsmith.com. You can also email me through there. Those are really the two best ways, and hope to hear from you all if you have any other questions. And this was super fun. Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Of course, Lily. And before we do wrap up, we're going to take about 2 questions. Actually, Lily, look through the chat and see if you want to answer one question, if you feel it's all right, and I will look through the chat, and I think there's one I would like to grab. I think there's a really good one. Amanda is asking about accessibility, and if you want to hop on that one too, feel free. So Amanda, how do we feel about accessibility fitting into these trends? I think it's a good question, but it's a hard question, because I feel like accessibility always comes at the tail end of or as technology matures. Like, my back still hurts when I sit in a chair. I could scream accessibility, honestly. Or maybe I'm just, like I said, old. But, as people started making chairs, they learned about things called ergonomics, which is, it's a different word, but it's still accessibility, making it so that things form a little bit better to human beings. Or in our instance, like color blindness or legibility, things like that. We start to fix things as creators, industry professionals, organizations. We fix things once people report the issue. So accessibility is, in my opinion, and we have some accessibility issues that we now know about, that we practice and try to mitigate so that the majority of the users and user base can use whatever it is product that we're making. But that list starts to get longer, and we learn, we can optimize even more for those who really want to use our product. So I think it's a long laundry list. Do I have all the answers? No, because I think the list increases and we just get better as designers, product creators, and so on and so forth. So do you have anything to add to that, Lily, or do you want to tackle another question?
Yeah, I can definitely add on to that. I think, that makes me think of the metaverse in particular, and that is a big question. Generally, I would say accessibility is something that should be built into, any website from the ground up, and should be kind of a consideration from the ground floor. And we really need to see that happen with the metaverse. It's kind of interesting because right now it's led by a lot of individual companies that are making their own kind of proprietary spaces. And so I would love to see them start to integrate that early on. I think there are other questions around security and those types of things that are still a little bit unknown. So curious to see how these companies tackle that. But definitely, I think it's going to be a challenge. Obviously, a tenet of design is to be inclusive of everyone, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how these companies and how designers tackle that for 3D VR AR spaces.
I love that, Lily. See, this was a good duo. You say, I was like, wow, I should just shut up and let her run it. Because I'm like, that was such a good answer. Why am I here? But I think beautifully said. And I lost my thought here. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Lily, thank you for being an amazing guest, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. So with that, we'll leave you guys. If you guys want to chat with us more, feel free to go into the links in the description. Check out everything that's there, from tutorials, the actual page for the live trends. Check out the webinar, and also join our Discord to be among hundreds of other creatives like yourself trying to dominate in the no-code space. So with that, Lily, I'll see you. Everybody else, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Thanks so much. Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and tuning into this episode of Real Talk, brought to you by EditorX, the world's most powerful no-code web design platform for designers and creatives alike. If you want to watch more amazing videos like this, check out our playlist down in the description with all of our Real Talk episodes, including other educational videos like EditorX tutorials. And also, do not forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get notified each week when we go live, and of course, if you feel so inclined, don't forget to smash the like button because it helps us reach more creatives like yourself each and every day. With that said, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. With that said, Brandon Groce, out.
you.